Yo, what up, YouTube? It is your boy Joe Barber, and we're in San Antonio. Yesterday was like 80 something degrees, beautiful weather. Today is about 40 degrees, give or take. And I just dropped my son off at school. Just having a good conversation with him, sharing information about communication, how we communicate with people. And sometimes you can say what you mean and they might not understand what you're saying, because a lot of people associate different words with different things. And, whatever way they were brought up and however they interpret things is different for everybody. You know what I'm saying? So when you're talking about sharing information, that's great, but if the other person doesn't comprehend or receive exactly what you're talking about, then regardless if you did communicate, there was a lack of interpretation. So I could tell you some things and you'll for example, I was raised in the hood, so our definition of love was loyalty and being able to say, like, man, I'll die for you. Like, I'll take a bullet for you, dog. When the OGs used to say that to us, that's when you knew that you were embraced, you were accepted, and you were part of the family. But if you're not from the hood and someone tells you that, you're not pretty impressed by that. In your mind, you may think, like, what does that mean? Like, I don't need you to die for me. I need you to live for me and be with me for the rest of your life and whatever. So that doesn't mean that one way is better than the other way. It just means that one person's eye, they value that. That's it's like it's a lot more, like, they're more sensitive about that, the way they, like I said, like in my hood, people are like, man, I'll die for you, dog. Like, you're my homie. Like, I love you like that. But we never said I love you to, like, another dude. We never said that to each other, But that's how we would say I love you, is by saying, like, bro, I got your back and I'll die for you, dog, because that's how much I love you. Basically, is what it's saying. But if you're talking to someone that's not from the hood and you tell them that, they're gonna look at you like, what? So as sincere as one person may be, the other person may not see that the same way. So then, even though you communicated that in their eyes, they're not gonna decipher it to where it's gonna have that same effect. Like, wow, I love him that much and he loves me that much, or whatever. So that's what I was explaining to my son. Sometimes you can communicate with the people that you do love, and it's not always received in the right way. It's like a different format, per se. If you're familiar with, Adobe, right? You're setting a PDF file, or you're setting a Windows file, or whatever file. Sometimes you can't open it because you don't have the software to open that particular format. And then you have to convert it. And once you convert it, you can, I can read it now. It's the same kind of way. So I told my son that, man, in relationships, in friendships, in business, you have to be able to sit down and talk it out. But even then, I'll tell you this, a lot of times we don't sit to listen. We sit to argue. We sit to, okay, you say what you got to say. I'm going to tell you what I feel and what I think. And it's like, I'm right, you're wrong. So, I mean, that's how war is, right? The acronym for war is we are right. So that's how the war starts, because they think they're right in their eyes. I think I'm right in my eyes, and there's no neutral ground. And that's where there has to be a mediation where, okay, man, let me bring in someone that specializes, whether you're having problems as a couple, or you're having problems as a businessman, or you're just having problems in general with your kids, whatever it may be, anywhere where you're not seeing eye to eye on things, you have to be able to do that. Now, individually, you can go and get help, but it's still going to be the same thing, where if you're trying to work it out for yourself, then you're going to go get help for yourself. But if you're trying to work it out to try to hold something together that's bigger than yourself, then you have to go together, because when you go get mediation, that person is only hearing one side of the story. And you could tell them, like, and you could be honest, but like I said, the interpretation, if that person is telling, you know, let's just say you go to a therapist or a counselor or someone like that that's helping you because you want to hold on to this relationship, this friendship, this business, partnership, whatever it is, anything, you know, even if it's like basketball, bro, like if you're trying to work it out, you go sit down with the coach and, okay, coach, this is what's going on and this is what I see and this is what's happening. And then the other guy is going to try and swindle the coach, you know, and say, yeah, nah, coach, this and that. And he might try to switch up the story just a tad to where they're the victim. And maybe they're not doing it intentionally, but it may come out that way. So, of course, whoever's doing the mediation, they need to be able to hear both sides and question and break it down. For me, I feel like that's a skill that a lot of us don't have. I didn't grow up communicating. I didn't grow up communicating love. And when I saw my cousins, it wasn't always a hug. It wasn't always like, even when I saw friends, there was no love that I gave like that. Like, it wasn't natural. I found that out later because as I experienced life and I met different people, I started to show love. I was not afraid to show love and appreciation towards someone that I care about. Whether it's a female or a male that's a friend. If I know you're a friend and you have good intentions for me and you care about me, I'm going to show love. I'm going to see you. I'm going to show you love. I'm going to show your family love, your husband, your wife, your kids. That's what I do. That's just how I am. But growing up, I wasn't like that. You know what I'm saying? That wasn't natural for me to do. So I've had a lot of relationships where having those kind of conversations were tough. They were foreign to me because that wasn't in my nature, like growing up. You know what I'm saying? That wasn't part of my characteristics. That was taught to me. I desired that, but also where I was growing up, when you showed that, it was a sign of weakness. It was a sign of like, you're not tough. And I grew up like that. Like, I have to be this tough guy because if I'm not, my hood is going to reject me as one of the weaklings. You know how in Sparta, you watch that movie Sparta, the 300, right? They're saying any baby that was born that looked weak, they would just kill it. And that was their culture. They would just throw the baby, and if the baby wasn't a certain size or a certain amount of weight, whatever. In my hood, that's how it was too, bro. If you couldn't bring something to the table and you weren't tough, and I promise you, bro, we grew up fighting each other just to make sure that we were tough, just to make sure that we can handle ourselves. And if you got beat up, oh man, I gotta go buy dog food. If you got beat up, then they'll be like, all right, well, we're gonna fight again next week and we're gonna teach you how to defend yourself. Because they always felt like if we ever get into a fight with another gang or another neighborhood, we gotta know that you're gonna back us up. Like, we got you, but you gotta have us. Even if you're not the strongest, the fastest, the whatever, you're gonna have to learn how to fight because you're gonna get in a fight. If we were in the mall, if we were at the school, if we were in the parade, like the fiesta stuff, we rolled in a big group and everybody needed to know that you were down. That was it. Like, oh no, he's down, bro. Like, whatever we do, he's gonna do. So that's how my neighborhood was. So that was normal for me to experience that. Like, that was my way of thinking. I didn't want to look weak and I didn't want to feel like I wasn't part of, because then if you're the outcast and something does happen, no one's gonna back you up and you're gonna be on your own. Thankfully, I didn't have to be in the gangs like that. I had a lot of friends that were in gangs, but I used to draw a lot of pictures for them. So that's how I stay protected. I would do like graffiti for them and they'll tell me, hey bro, I need you to tag over here. I would climb up buildings and spray paint their name or whatever and give them like the credit that they wanted for that image or whatever I did. So that's how I got by, you know what I'm saying? And I got protected. But I did fight a lot, growing up. I had to fight my friends, because we would just have like Royal Rumbles just for the fun of it. It'll be a Friday night. We're not doing nothing. We're hanging out. We're all dressed up. and polos, Tommy and all that. And then we're like, hey, well, let's just have a Royal Rumble. And then whoever didn't want to do it was seen as like you're scared or you're weak. So everybody was just like, I know that majority of us didn't want to, but we didn't always want to be looked at as the weakling, you know, in the group. So I remember those days, man. I promise. And some of those guys are still around that we used to do that with. And so you know, I'm telling you, this is how we grew up, and it's crazy, but it's true. And so, what are the effects of that? You know, how did that? I don't want to say that it ruined my life. How did it ruin my life, right? I don't want to say that, but I'm saying how it traumatized me growing up. And those are some of the characteristics that I had to break down, and then I have to sit down. I have to reflect, like, why do I have all this aggression? Why do I feel like I have to retaliate? Why do I feel like respect is so big? Why do I feel all these things instead of thinking logically and being like, oh, you know what? I'm not going to hit that guy because if I hit him, I might hurt him. If I hurt him, he might call the police. If he calls the police, I might go to jail. If I go to jail, I have to go to court. If I have to go to court, I'm going to lose money. I might have a charge. It might stop me from being able to have a specific job that I want, or I have to go to jail or something. And God forbid that you are so frustrated and so enraged that you do hit something and something really bad happens to them. You never know. And I've been in those situations where I've hurt people and I'm not proud of it, but man, it scares me because I'm like, dude, there's no need for that. And it's better just to walk away. I mean, we had an incident yesterday playing. I just came out of retirement to play basketball with some of my clients, and it was a good game, but there was one guy there, a youngster, he's 20 something, just being disrespectful, man, like just talking crazy. And I don't know if he's not all there, but I know that he hit my son. Oh, he fouled my son, and my son called foul, and he started, you know, calling him, you know, names. And then I got in the way, and I'm like, nah, we ain't doing that, bro. Like, you know, you're calling fouls. He called the foul, respect it. And then he pushed me, and oh my goodness. Yeah, all all this stuff, this advice that went out the window. So in my mind, I know what to do to hit somebody and hurt somebody. I know, because I've lost fights, I've won fights, whatever. But it was normal for me to fight. So I know, and I know a little bit of, you know, jujitsu stuff that I've taught myself. Like, okay, man, if this ever happened, the only reason I started studying jujitsu is because what if someone comes into the shop? You know, I have a license to carry my weapon, but that's the last line of defense for me. If I'm able to, you know, put someone in a submission, then I can do that. But I can read body language, and I know if somebody's like built and all athletic, okay, that's not going to work for that guy. But if it's some, you know, some punk, you know, some chump that I know I can take down, that I have body weight over, then I know I could submit the guy without killing him or without hurting him like that. I don't want to blow his leg off or anything like that. I don't want to do that. But if I have to, then I have to. But the fact is that those are not my intentions, because that's not who I am. So anyway, like, the other side of me came out, and man, in my mind, it clicked. Like, I can hit this dude and knock him out, because he weighed like about, man, like maybe 150, 160. He was my height, but in my mind, I didn't know how old he was. My son is 16 years old. So in my mind, I'm like, my son's not aggressive. He doesn't fight. He's never fought in his life. I've never took him to, you know, like boxing classes or nothing like that. He doesn't know how to defend himself. So that's why I got in the way. But my son is 6 feet tall. So, you know, people think he's like an adult, and he's not. Regardless of that. So the dude was just mouthing off. And I know that he was weak because he's the loudest one in the gym. He wasn't that good, but what he was doing when he played basketball, he would elbow you or do the football shoulder into your chest to create space and then finish. So he did that to my son, and my son called offensive foul, and he called my son the B word and the P word and all this kind of stuff. And then so when I heard that, I was like, bro, you know, that we ain't doing that. And then when my son drove in, he hit my son in the arm, and my son called foul. And now he's calling my son weak and the P word and the B word and, you know, all types of just. And I know that stems from a lot of kids nowadays where they can say what they want on Instagram or Facebook and have no repercussions because they're behind a screen. But I'm not like that. I'm big on respect. I'm like, that dude doesn't know my son and he doesn't know me. So regardless of that, you know, and I could have hit him multiple times, but I didn't, because I was like, you know what, man, I'm not going to do that, because we're in a public place. You know, there's too many witnesses. I don't know how old this dude is. You know, I don't want to go to jail. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. I don't want to catch a case. Then I'll lose my license to carry, because, you know, all these things went through my head. But he just kept mouthing off. And when I tried to get close to him to explain to him why I was protecting my son, he put his hands up. As soon as he put his hands up, he had his hands in the middle of his chest with his hands together. That's when I knew, oh, you've never been in a fight. You've never been in a fight. You're not protecting your face. You're not even in a stance to deliver a hit. You don't even know, like, so I already knew, like, I read his body language. I was like, yeah, bro, you're just scared. You're just a scared, confused young man. So then we kept playing. He still was, like, scared of me. And then I tried to explain to him. I went up to him. I said, look, man, I apologize. I was just protecting my son. I don't know you. I don't mean nothing against you. And then he just started cussing at me again. And I was like, all right, man. And then the other guys were telling him, like, hey, man, yo, he's just trying to squash it. Nah, bro, he's going to try and, you know, sucker punch me. He was just really scared. And then I said, you know what? I'm just playing ball. And then everybody was cool with me, everybody else, and even his friends. And then, you know, towards the end of the game, they won. They beat us by a point. They hit our last shot, and they beat us. So I shaked everybody's hand. I said, look, man, I'm just protecting they were like, nah, we do the same thing if it was, you know, my son. So cool. And everybody was pretty young except one old school there that was, you know, a few years older than me. And so I went up to that young man. I said, look, man, I don't want to leave this gym with bad vibes. I'm just telling you, like, I want to squash it. And he's like, nah, man, you trying to, and he's in the corner, like, scared, he looked like a dog that was scared, like a dog that's been barking. As soon as you open the gate, they run. That's how he looked. And I was like, look, man, I'm not going to hurt you, bro. I don't even know you. I was like, but I'm not going to let someone disrespect me or my son over basketball. Like, it's not like that, dude. I was like, but I'm willing to do what I got to do to protect my son. You know, I'm about that life. Like, I will protect my son regardless, but it doesn't have to be that way, because this is just basketball. So anyway, all that happened. And, you know, I said some words I shouldn't have said, because I was, you know, I was really angry that he put his hands on me. Now, I know by law, I could have called the police in that moment and he would have gone to jail just by pushing me the way he did, which is not a basketball move. He pushed me. So that's assault. So if I would have called the cops, there were witnesses. I never touched him. I never hit him. I never fouled him. All I did was get in his face because I was getting in between him and my son. Now, that's the thing. For me, I'm like, I was like, no, we ain't having that. That's not going to happen. And he pushed me. So I was like, oh, man. And I didn't expect him to push me. But when he did, he pushed himself back more than he pushed me back. You know, I'm a little overweight right now. So I'm like at 220. I'm not proud of it, but I'm working on it. But anyways, like I said, he didn't have that weight. You know, he's a little basketball player, dude. And he had one of those Marbach haircuts. So I know he's a confused young man. But, man, when you put your hands on somebody, you got to understand that you could make that decision, right, to do that, but you can't choose the consequences. And there's consequences to your words. There's consequences to your actions. And people need to know that. And it's crazy. But after the fact, long story short, I mean, you already got the long story. But what I'm saying is, like, in my mind, I'm about helping people, inspiring people. But what I'm telling you is, in the back of my mind, the old Joe wanted to come out. And I told my son after the fact, I was like, you see, right there, I could have hurt that dude. I could have really, really hurt him. And I would have hurt myself more, though. Physically, he would have hurt him. He would have been hurting. But what the after effects of what I'm going to do, am I going to jail? I don't know what's going to happen, but, you know, even though I was defending myself, I'm going to have to prove that in court. That's going to take time. That's going to take money. I have to call my lawyer, do all this stuff. And I haven't played 5-on-5 basketball in years. And that's exactly why I don't play with people, because I don't play. I mean, I play basketball, but when it comes to respecting me and talking trash, like if you talk trash, basketball talk trash, that's cool. But when you start calling people the B word and the P word and you know, all that kind of stuff, dog, that's just blatantly disrespectful. And because a lot of people don't understand that nowadays, because like I said, social media, you could talk trash to anybody and no one's going to come knocking at your door to, you know, handle up. And where I'm from, you handle up. You know, there was times when I would have to walk to somebody's house with my mom or with my cousin that disrespected me or did something that they didn't like. And they would make us fight out in the backyard. Like, hey, your son told my son this, we're going to fight. He said something about his mom, or he said something about blah, blah, blah. We fighting right now. Get them ready. And I promise you, we would lace up, we would fight. And after he beat me up or I beat him up, we shake hands and we never had beef again. You know what I'm saying? And that's how it was. And it's either you learn to protect yourself and you learn how to hit people and finish the fight as soon as possible, or you're going to be in it for a long fight. And sometimes you fought somebody bigger than you. Sometimes you fought somebody smaller than you. And the big dude didn't always win. So it's crazy, man. But I'm not an advocate for any type of violence at all, because like I said, when you let your emotions get the best of you, the after effects, man, you don't even know what's coming. You don't know if you're going to go to jail. You don't know if they're going to retaliate. You don't know if they're not stable. You don't know all these things. So you have to make the best judgment call. And it's to each his own, man, to each his own. Because like I said, if you have to protect yourself, you got to protect yourself, man. And that's why I do carry, because when I'm at places and I go put gas and people see my truck, they got the rims and this and that or whatever they feel that is value, and let's go jack that dude. I have to be ready for that. And it sucks that I have to be like that. But before I go put gas, I park, I look around, how many people are here? Does anybody look shady? Does anybody look whatever? Then, okay, I put my gun in my waist. I put my shirt over it. I go out, I pump gas, I do my thing. All right, get back in, take my gun out, put it in the glove compartment or whatever. Put it back where, it's not on me. But it just sucks, man. That was a terrible experience. It's like, man, I just came to play basketball, and I wouldn't even say 40% of what I'm capable of doing, because like I said, I'm a little overweight right now because of the tacos. And I don't know why God allowed tacos to be created, because they're detrimental to our health. But what I'm saying is, like, I'm just working on that. I'm working on that. All I want to do is cardio. I actually have to go grocery shopping today as well. And I'm trying to change my diet. I'm trying to eat healthier. I'm trying to drink more water. I'm trying to eat food with less calories. Like, there's so much stuff that I'm trying to do to better myself mentally, physically, and spiritually. And then this test that I when I was driving home and I sat down and got in bed, I felt bad. I felt bad that God tested me and I failed, and I failed miserably. And I was like, man, I don't want that guy to. That was the first impression that guy got of me. That's the first impression of some of those guys that got it of me. And they're going to remember me for like, oh, that's that old school that was going to knock out that dude. Or that's that old school that's crazy. Or that's that old school that's violent. Or that's that old school. I don't know. I don't care what people think, but I don't want people to have that interpretation of me, man. Because I'm not that kind of dude. Like, that's not. For my kids, yes. If it was just me, I would have walked away. Like, whatever. But I have to protect my son, man. And that's the thing. I don't want my son to get hit. I don't want him to get punched by some chump, because if he would have hit my son, then dog, I sad to say, I would have jumped on him and beat him up pretty bad, like, for hitting my son. Cause like I said, that dude might be about 20, 24, 25 years old. And, if my other son was there, like, I have two older sons three actually that are older, or four that are older than Joby. But if like one of my other sons was there, they would have beat that dude up. Like, for disrespecting me, or for hitting their brother, or like pushing their brother, or touching their brother and fouling them the way they did, or pushing me, for sure, one of my sons would have hit him. And I'm glad that didn't happen. But that's the thing. And I was explaining to that young man, I said, look, bro, you got a big mouth, and you're going to talk to the wrong person, and you're either going to end up in jail, or you're going to end up really hurt. I'm just explaining that to you from experience. I used to be like that, man. I used to have a big mouth until, things happen and it gets bad, and you're going to mess with the wrong person, and you don't want that. So just chill out. And that's all I said to him. Just chill out, bro. And he wasn't trying to have it. So I was like, you know what, man? Cool. And I talked to one of his friends, and I explained to him my stance. And he was, his friend was saying, oh, no, you got in between them. I was like, first of all, he's like, no, I know that's your son. I said, dude, it's all about respect. I don't know what this dude is capable of doing. So that's why I got in the way. If he's going to hit anybody, he's going to hit me. I could defend myself. My son cannot defend himself. He's 16 years old. So he's not about that life. He's never been into that. He's a good student. He plays basketball. That's all he does. He helps me at the house. Good kid. He didn't grow up in the hood. He's not on the streets. He doesn't do that. We barely let him go to his friend's house. But the thing is, we do keep him a little bit sheltered. But that's just how we choose to have him raised, because I don't want him to think that he can be out there doing all this nonsense or be influenced by other people. So that's the thing for me. Oh, there's a dog that I saw earlier that has tags, and I want to go call their owner because I know they might be missing him. But anyways, that's the video today. I know it's a 25-minute video already, but I want to share with y'all, man, that regardless of what's going on, you have to control your emotions, and it's very important to respect other people, to be respectful, and respect yourself, man. At the end of the day, it's just respecting yourself. But for me, I want y'all to learn from my lesson. You don't have to be aggressive. You don't have to be that kind of guy. You don't have to embrace that kind of life. Now, work on yourself. Understand where your weaknesses are. Understand where your demons are, man, and face them. Like, deal with them on your own. And I promise you, man, you're going to live a more, abundant life. And that's all I want to do, is live an abundant life and be able to pour into other people. I don't want to be a tough guy. I don't need to be a gangster. I don't need to be none of that stuff. All I want to do is live my life and help people. I know there's people out here struggling with mental health. I know there's people out here struggling with poverty. I know there's a lot of people out here just trying to make it. Like, they don't care about inspiration. They don't care about, man, I don't care about your story. I'm just trying to make it to tomorrow, dog. That's it. And they're living like that day to day. So understand the amount of pressure that's on them. Understand the amount of love that they do not have, or they do not feel, or they don't even experience. So you cannot expect them. My other son would say that, like, man, Dad, how come they don't go get a job? Or how come they don't get this? I'm like, son, you don't know what that person's been through. You don't know their story. You don't know whether they got abused as a kid. You don't know if they got abandoned as a kid. You don't know if they love themselves. You don't know anything. And they could be begging for money because they're just trying to make it. And we may look down on them and look at this beggar and look at this, but you're never going to know what it's like until you walk a mile in their shoes, man. And hopefully everyone watching this video doesn't have to experience that. I hope you never have to experience being homeless. And I got a small dose of that myself. I had to sleep in my car at one point because I didn't have somewhere to live. I was staying at my friend's house. They were barely making it. I was just an extra body that they had to feed. And they asked me to leave because they couldn't afford me being there. And that was one of the worst feelings that I've ever had in my life. But by that happening, I got on my knees and I prayed to God that he would help me. And that's when I went to barber college. And then that's when my whole journey started. But it took me breaking down that time. And now I broke down again and asked God to, level me up. And now I'm being leveled up again. But it's pain, man. You have to endure the pain and the lesson. And you have to learn your lesson. If not, you're going to keep going in that cycle. You're going to be learning the same lesson over and over because you never learned it. So it's going to keep happening. And you're like, man, why does this keep happening to me? Well, because you don't learn the lesson, Joe. You didn't learn the lesson last time, so we're going to have to go through it again. It's like flunking the 3rd grade. Why am I in the 3rd grade? Well, because you didn't pass last time. So we're going to do it again until you get it right. And that's how life is, man. You're going to always have cycles. You're going to have the beginning of a cycle and the end of a cycle. It's like that. It's either you're going into a storm, you're in the middle of the storm, or you're coming out of one, man. It's never going to be to where you just wake up and life is great. There's always going to be something that happens, but how you respond to it and how you react to it and how you process it is going to be what determines your amount of happiness and the amount of peace that you have. If you know that it's a lesson that you need to learn, then learn the lesson. Apply the lesson. So next time it happens, you know when to walk away, or you know how to deal with it. And that's how it is in life, man. So hopefully y'all learned something from this video. I'm about to get this dog food and go home and feed my little animals. And then do some work on my laptop. I got to fill out some grants. And hopefully I get to do my taxes today and submit them. And then I have a loan that I'm applying for my business. And hopefully I can get that cleared so I can start painting. I need to paint my shop different colors, and I want to kind of upgrade things and get rid of some of the stuff that I have, and some of the lighting and whatnot. I want to change it for the school. So that's my plan. But that's why I need to get this loan so I can consolidate some of my debt and then move forward to opening my school. So it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, man, but I embrace it and I'm looking forward to it because, when you work towards a dream and it's happening in real time, as much as it hurts, like, you know, being there all day and not sleeping and, you know, doing all the stuff that you got to do, it's all good. But also today I got to go by the hospital. I got to go and support somebody that's in the hospital. They're getting surgery today, so that's important to me. So I'm going to be there like around 2 o'clock and then just be in the parking lot. They don't let people in the hospital, but if I can sit outside just like this and pray the whole time that I'm there while the surgery is happening, then I'll do that. And that's what I'm willing to do because I care that much. And that's what I'm going to do. So hopefully you'll have a great day, man, a productive day. Hopefully this, you know, this encourages you in some way, and hopefully you learn something. But you can do it, man. Anything that you put your heart and your mind to and you trust God, you can do it. So don't let your emotions get the best of you. Don't let, you know, the world frustrate you and break you down, man. I've done that. I've been there. You know, you can process things and you can, you know, break down emotionally. You can cry if you need to. You can, you know, whatever it is, but don't stay stuck there, man. Don't stay stuck in the mud. Figure out a way. Be a solutions person. Be all about solutions. And I promise you, man, you're going to get through this. You're going to get through it and you're going to get what you want out of life. But you have to remain humble and you have to remain grateful for the things that you do have. All right, man. Y'all stay blessed. Y'all stay faded.